Hands up and make your point. So I'm going to start with Bob Blackman, my far right. If you could say a few words. Bob is the Parliamentary candidate for Harrow East.
All right, well, thank you. It's always good to get applause at the beginning because you don't know whether there'll be applause at the end. But ladies and gentlemen, a great pleasure to be with you. The alternative to this is watching England play Slovenia. I'll leave you to guess what the best thing is to do. For those of you that don't know me, I've been the MP for Harrow East for the last 14 years. Ever since this proposal was put to actually develop this monstrosity in the centre of Edgware, I've been opposing it. I'm obviously standing in this election. I'm appalled that Barnet Council has chosen to exclude the Harrow part from their local plan, as if this monstrosity would not affect the constituency in Harrow, because it will, because many of them and many views will of course come from the Harrow side and use the Edgware shopping centre, and we know that the Edgware shopping centre would cease to exist for about 10 years under this proposal, and the only store that would actually keep going is Sainsbury's. Which of course is all very nice. If you want to shop at Sainsbury's, but all the rest of the shops would be extinguished. I, together with, I noticed one of our councillors here, we had a, sorry, where's the other one? Oh, there, sorry, yeah, sorry, I didn't see you there, so she was waving through the back. We had a public meeting here, 500 people of local residents signed my petition. Still the thunder of my two colleagues here. We're awaiting what they decide to do in terms of a planning application. What we can say, I think, as a community and a collective, we have slowed them down. We haven't prevented them, but we've slowed them down. And what I would say is very simple. There is a case for having a degree of housing development on this site, but certainly not to the extent of the 29 tower blocks that we erected, with 20 being higher than 20 stories, and indeed having insufficient car parking or no car parking at all for residents, and the implications for the whole area, both on car parking and indeed on all other services. So, as you can tell, I am absolutely opposed to it. If I'm re-elected across the road, I will be vigorously opposing it as much as I can. I have said from the word go that I suspect if this proceeds as a planning application, we are going to see a very long drawn out affair, either decided by Barnet's planning committee, the Mayor of London, or whoever is Secretary of State for whatever we're going to call it, levelling up housing communities in the end. So this is not something that is going to be a quick process. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process, but I'm committed to be fighting alongside you to prevent what I think would be catastrophic for this area. Thank you.
Theresa Villiers is the candidate for Chipping Barnet. I'm sure you recognise her.
Thank you so much for inviting me to take part in this meeting. It is fantastic to see residents from both boroughs here. Despite the distraction of the football, thank you for your engagement with this issue, which causes you to come out on this hot summer evening and sit in this wonderful community centre to talk about this appalling proposal for a 29-storey tower block and a further 13 tower blocks over 13 stories, over 20 stories. This is completely inappropriate for an outer suburban area like Edgware. And just to say a little bit about myself, I've been Member of Parliament for Chipping Barnet for 19 years. I was elected in 2005, and that constituency is about to merge with Edgwarebury Ward, and it makes me all the more determined to give you my strong support on the campaign against what TfL and Ballymore want to do here. I think it would be entirely destructive of the suburban character of the neighbourhood. I think it would be damaging to the transport system. I think the proposals for the underground bus station are unsafe and unfeasible and impractical, and it would be a great shame to decimate the shopping facilities, which are such an important part of the community here. So I'm sure we'll have a chance to go through all these issues in greater detail, but I am on your side, and I'm sure Bob will confirm, a certain reputation in Parliament for being very tough on overdevelopment. With my colleagues, I managed to secure changes to national planning policy because I want local people to have a strong say in what is built in their neighbourhood. And that's one of the reasons I'm very worried about Labour proposals to, as Keir Starmer says, ignore local views on planning applications. But I will always speak out against overdevelopment, against tower blocks in the suburbs. I support your cause. Thank you.
Ameet Jogia, who is the Parliamentary candidate for Hendon.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. I want to start by congratulating the committee for coming together tonight to bring Edgware together, which is cross-ward boundaries and cross-parliamentary boundaries as well. And I think it's such a fantastic initiative and a much needed initiative, because in issues like this with the Broad Walk, it's not just one ward or one constituency, it has an impact across a very large area, and I think your committee will make a huge difference in making our voice stronger against the Broad Walk. By background, I was born in Edgware and I've lived around this area my whole life. I'm also a current sitting councillor in Cannons Ward, which is literally across the ward, which is Harrow East, under Bob Blackman, who I've worked with, and I've now have the honour of standing on this side of the border as your new Conservative parliamentary candidate in the constituency, which I've known and grown up with for so many years. As in this area, I am proud to be the only candidate in this parliamentary constituency to stand up against the Broad Walk development, and it's important that anyone who lives on this side of the border is aware of that, and we are fighting day and night to make sure that everyone knows that only the Conservatives, both at a local level and at a national level, will fight for overdevelopment. Now, I want to make one thing very, very clear. I'm not against regeneration. I've grown up in Edgware and I've seen, the Edgware I grew up in is not the Edgware that I see today. And no one more than me here wants to see Edgware redeveloped and fit for purpose. It used to be very similar to Brent Cross, and it used to be a great hub of shops, which we've sadly lost with Marks and Spencer's and so many other amenities. And I'm very, very worried that Edgware is going down the hill. And I want to be a strong voice for the community to make sure that we put Edgware back on the map for the right reasons. I am very concerned for this particular development because I feel that we don't have the infrastructure in place to support it. Our schools in our local area are full and won't be able to accommodate an extra increase in population, so we will need new schools. Our environment won't be called, and having looked at the plans and with the flood plan risk, there are serious concerns about the drainage of this huge development in a site of this nature. And of course other amenities, GP surgeries and so on. We need to make sure that we have the amenities in place before we look at any type of development, let alone something that is so big. I have a proven track record of delivering, and I know, I've worked with so many residents here who feel that we are a lone voice, but that is not true. In the ward I represent across the road, we successfully beat Sadiq Khan in his plans to build over Stanmore car park and Cannon Station car park with Bob Blackman as well, and that was when we were in opposition at the council. So we can beat Sadiq Khan, and we can do the same here as well. But we do need to make sure that we have a Conservative voice, especially in Barnet and Harrow, so that we can carry on that fight at the very highest level. Just to wrap up, I am very concerned, and it's a shame that there aren't any Labour representatives here today, because I am very concerned about their plans for the area, especially their manifesto, which will be watering down planning policy, and which will look to build on the so-called grey belt, which is green belt, which isn't used, and on this side we live very close to the so-called grey belt, and I'm very concerned that not only will they look at that land, but they will also give more powers to sub-regional officers, so in our case the Mayor of London, to build wherever he wants, with whatever he wants. So that's the message that I wanted to bring across today, and I look forward to taking your questions this evening on how we can work together as a community with the developers to make Edgware better for all. Thank you.